Live from the bargain basement, two friends try to stay alive and stay connected by chatting about monster movies and more. It's Monsters versus Men.
Mafia, wake up, wake up.
You have created a monster and it will destroy you.
A little different.
We're back. Well, a little different.
Ooh.
We're back, though. We are back to the bargain basement, Alex. We are back in the bargain basement of the Monster Podcasting airwaves with a special new type of episode potentially for the show, a Monsters versus Men conversation. Similar, I would say, Alex, to an MvM Plus episode, but hopefully with a little bit more structure, a little bit more relevancy for our audience, and hopefully staying on topic as much as possible with a few derailments, I'm sure.
Of course. Maybe. We'll see. We definitely stay on track, typically.
We do have an agenda, though. We have some things that we'll definitely be covering in Monsters vs. Men conversation today, including some new trailers that have been released this past month. Godzilla Minus, Monarch Legacy of Monsters. We'll talk about the Troll sequel, Alex. We might have to check that out when that's released. We've got some pop culture news that we'll be chatting about, including some Mike Flanagan stuff. If you are an MvM Plus listener, you know we're fans. And, of course, we will, at the end, have some 30-second reviews. I'm sure Alex has seen some things, and we will get his 30-second reviews on the latest movies that he's watched, and he will give them Godzilla, Gamera, or Gabra recommendations. But, Alex, let's jump at the top. Monster movie news. The first thing, the big news for us, we got some Godzilla news this past month with the release of the Godzilla Minus trailer. Like the full trailer. What do you think? What are your first impressions, man?
Yeah. It's kind of hard to believe we haven't really talked about this yet, but I think it looks very good. It seems to be a darker Godzilla. Maybe not too dissimilar from something like I don't know. A lot of people go back to the original. It kind of feels hard not to with the time period. But it just feels darker. You know, there's that sequence of it looks like, I think it's maybe the main character, and he's like got blood running down his face, and he's like laying on his back, looking up above him. That moment is like, this I feel like we're going for a pretty dark tone that is very welcome. I'm looking forward to like a evil or a force of nature Godzilla to kind of be the balance of the scales to our friendly Godzilla in the Monsterverse. Right.
I heard I saw one Twitter user say something along the lines of, after the trailer, something along the lines of, this looks like the first true horror Godzilla film since the original. Did you get those vibes?
Yeah, I felt like that too. I also felt like that when I saw the 2014 Godzilla trailer. Right.
Oh yeah.
But it didn't quite shake out that way. But yes, the vibe here feels a lot like the vibe I got in the 2014. Obviously, I think the 2014 trailer is better. But, you know, again, I think we've talked about that being more of like a short film almost.
It is a short film. That's a different type of trailer right there.
It really is. But this one's good, and it does feel very horror. It feels unrelenting. And again, I know we've defeated Godzilla in the past before, but I'm hoping no oxygen destroyer and another solution.
Interesting.
And so we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, this is the beginning of their own universe, supposedly. So you may not be able to kill him just yet.
That's true. That is true. I also saw another person. Actually, no, it was the same person. The person was like, "This is the same," or "This is giving me horror vibes." You know, like the most horror-like Godzilla movie since Gojira or Godzilla 1954. But they also said the one concern that they had was that this was going to be a nationalistic sort of film, right? Do you share any of those concerns, Alex?
How dare the Japanese have any pride at all? How dare they? I think it's ridiculous. I mean, this is post-World War II. Japan had done some pretty horrible things. I don't know if this is going to be nationalistic in that, like, they're proud of themselves at the time or anything like that. But I think it's going to be the banding together and maybe even the healing of Japan afterwards, after so much horrible destruction. -1, less than nothing. I think that's what it might be about. And I don't know if a community or a group of people coming together is inherently maybe an evil nationalistic thing.
Right. Well, I mean, it's the same as 54, right? Like, or I would go so far as to say the same as Shin Godzilla in a sense. People coming together is not inherently nationalistic, but. Yeah, I mean, I understand. I get it. Like, I see maybe where you're coming from, but it will be interesting to see that the post World War II, like visibly post World War II, whereas like 54 Godzilla, it doesn't have that context.
Not at all.
Like that context is implied, but it is not explicit. This seems more like a almost alternative history sort of thing, right?
Which I absolutely love alternative history.
Yeah, which I think is cool, right? This could be a really cool idea. So we'll see. That's definitely a difference between the original and this one. So yeah, I'm just excited to see what comes of it because the Godzilla design is pretty cool.
I was just about to ask you, what do you think about it? It does look pretty good.
It looks pretty good. So it's not incredibly unique, I would say. Like, there's nothing in there that's surprising,
right?
But it is just a solid design, right? I mean, it obviously is very similar to the design that we saw for the Godzilla ride, right? Very similar, but it's still, that's a solid design. I will take that and watch a movie with that Godzilla and be okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a lot of the Japanese Godzilla designs. They feel more like refinements in a lot of ways. Like, yes, you get that Showa Heisei leap, but it kind of feels like a natural way to go. And then from there, it just feels like a natural evolution. Shin Godzilla notwithstanding. So I think it makes a lot of sense for the Japanese Godzilla to, look like Godzilla.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the next trailer then, which is, so -1 comes out December 1st. But before we even get to that, Alex, I guess it's November 1st in Japan. Is that right? And I think it is.
So. Yeah.
Early November, Japan, December 1st for its US release. The new Monarch TV series on Apple TV, Monarch Legacy of Monsters, releases November 17th, Alex. And Apple TV releases an episode at a time, correct? So they will, I don't know how many episodes are in it yet. I don't know how much has been released, but the trailer has been released. I'm curious about your impressions on that one.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect, Eric. When I heard about it, I was a little bit hesitant, to say the least. I was hesitant about what was going to be going on in the show. You hear Godzilla show, I immediately think budget, right? How many episodes of this can they really do? Seems like an expensive project, especially since, holy cow, it's 10 episodes.
Oh, wow.
So,
awesome.
I mean, golly, that's quite a budget, especially if you want decent effects, which we know are somewhat hard to come by right now, but it does seem like there's kind of a return to norms in terms of effects. They seem to have been really improving lately after like a 2-year hiatus of just inequality whatsoever.
But it turns out people care.
Right. It turns out if it looks bad, you're going to get lambasted on Twitter, and that does result in less sales for your product.
Yeah. Turns out quality matters.
Right. So can you imagine the different discourse if Ant-Man didn't have that ugly MODOK? Not that MODOK.
Oh, gosh.
You and me didn't really have a problem with MODOK, but we had other problems. But anyway, we'll leave Marvel out of this.
Yeah, we'll leave Marvel.
I was very happy with what I saw here. As I watched this trailer, the one thought I had while watching it was, they get it. They understand this universe and how to execute on it right. I felt like they really just understood everything about it while watching it. Like the tone was perfect. Yes, we're probably going to laugh a few times here, but the scale was there. The effects were there. The interesting characters popping up in iconic moments from the films were there. And I feel like it all works, and it all seems to be centered around new characters for the most part.
Yes.
Which is good. I don't need I like everything being tied together, but with different people's perspectives on the events. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I can't wait to see how all that shakes out. This really sold me. Dude. Especially John Goodman being somehow a part of this. And then I am a big Kurt Russell fan, so I saw him and I was like, oh yeah, I'm over the moon. But I think they get it. What about you?
Look, man. Yeah. If you ask me what am I more excited about like 3 months ago, -1 or Monarch Legacy of Monsters, I would have said hands down -1. Now I'm like, it's a toss-up. Honestly, it really is, because I tell you, the Legacy of Monsters trailer impressed me, and it just gave me a small hope that they could do something incredibly unique with the monster genre. Something that like literally just hasn't been done. We get giant monster series in animated form, but like something like this, this has not been done yet, right?
Right.
And this has the potential to reach a pretty wide audience. It's Apple TV, but also Apple TV has phenomenons on it, right?
Honestly, Apple TV has become the home for awesome sci-fi.
It has. It has. And I mean, it has hits. It has Ted Lasso, right?
Silo.
It has Silo, right? It has hits. I think if you get the human characters right, it's going to be hard to get this thing wrong.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see how this timeline works too. It seems like we're weaving pretty far back and pretty far forward. I'm wondering, like, are we going to go? And there's probably something in there that indicates how far we may go. But are we going to go past King of the Monsters? Right. Are we going to go past Godzilla versus Kong? Or are we going to, or is the stopping point Godzilla 2014? It feels like Godzilla 2014 might be a jumping off point for one of our characters. Like, that's what it kind of looked like to me, like that girl that gets out of the back of the bus. That might be her introduction to this universe, and then we're going to have all these characters from the past and future, and who knows what else. The Hollow Earth.
Who knows?
It's going to be really interesting. I don't know how they're going to bring John Goodman's character and his like legacy into the rest of this, because I don't know. I'm wondering how they're going to make that character work, because he doesn't. He's someone who cares, but he also, at the end of the day, like had his own agenda with on Skull Island.
For sure. Yeah, he has. I don't know how they're going to weave this together, but I mean, maybe the title gives us some insight, right? Yes. It may be something that does have that history but extends beyond. So I think, look, if you're going to add cool characters, a human element, and lore to this monsterverse, you're going to be okay, right? You're going to please fans and people pretty new to the series as well. How much Godzilla is going to be in it? I have no idea.
Will there be an introduction of any other Toho monsters?
Ooh,
I'll say no.
I'll say no too.
Which is totally fine.
It's just fine. They'll probably introduce some new monsters, I would imagine.
I hope so.
I think there was even one in the trailer, maybe.
Well, I think I wouldn't even mind just the ones we already have, just more in depth. Because remember all those monsters from King of the Monsters that we saw that we didn't get to spend any time with?
Right.
We'll spend some time with them. That's fine.
Yeah. Will King Kong make an appearance?
I mean, he almost has to in some sort of way. It might be pretty minor.
Will Godzilla vs. Kong 2 tie into this? Lots of questions.
Yeah, there might be some tethers. I don't think it's okay if it ties into it, but they don't need to go the MCU route of like you have to watch this to see this movie, right? Now you could have a character from this go into that or something like that, and it just not matter that you miss like a Sea of Monsters, but you would appreciate it more if you had, right? Like that kind of synergy is okay. I don't think we need to really. Here's what I'll say: the movies do not need to rely on the TV shows. If it's going to be anyway, the TV show has to rely on the movies.
I agree. yeah, for sure. If they don't do it like that, they'll mess up, right? Sort of like Marvel. TV shows have to rely on the movies. Movies can't rely on the TV shows.
Exactly.
Yep. Next news, man, just to keep on moving. There's another sequel in our midst of another movie we have reviewed, and it is Troll. Norwegian Troll. You know the 2014 Godzilla Light?
No, that's 1998 Godzilla Light.
That's right. That's what you compared it to. That's right.
Yeah.
This is Troll 2. Which Netflix has ordered a sequel to. The first film, directed by Roar Uthaug, who helmed Norway's first disaster movie, The Wave.
Oh,
interesting.
Okay. Sure.
All right.
I mean, this will be a disaster movie. You got a bigger troll than ever. I mean, the movie hinted directly at that another one's coming. So I'm glad that it was so successful that people really that they're going to make another one. We'll see what it is. Maybe it'll be an inspiration. Maybe it'll play off of, I don't know, if they pick a Godzilla movie, maybe like Godzilla Final Wars. Get the trolls from Troll Hunter, all the trolls from all the troll movies in there, and just make chaos ensue.
What I didn't know was how successful Troll 1 was.
It was a big deal. It was shocking.
Look, it's the most popular non-English film of all time on Netflix.
It's a little goofy, if you ask me, but that's okay. I mean, it's a good movie. That's fine. I like that a genre film captured people so much. But it's like, I don't know. You've had big directors make movies on there. You've had all kinds of stuff. Like, but you're right. Foreign film. That does make things a little bit leaner. Film. Non-English speaking, yes. So that maybe makes some more sense.
In a film is the other thing. Like Squid Game, I'm sure has more views than Troll.
Right.
But that's a series, not a film. So there are some qualifications to that.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I liked it. They figured out how to defeat one. I'll be interested to see why they can't defeat another one.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
What's next, Alex?
So, this is kind of old news, but in the light of a recent episode I did with Faye, The Last Voyage of Demeter, a film that hints at a relationship with the Wolfman. I was interested to see, like, what's going on, because this, I'm just going to say this about it. I'm not going to, because you haven't seen the movie yet, Eric, but I'm going to say this about Last Voyage of Demeter. It is the perfect setup for a shared universe that does it the right way. It's unfortunate that it lost like $30 million at the box office. So you'll never get that. But it sets up an interesting lineage of the movie with a very small, tiny reference. Like that I mean, I noticed the cane that's in the movie, but I didn't attach it to what character normally has the cane. And it turns out that Faye, she pointed out that the cane belongs to the Wolfman in the Universal Monster movies. Talbot.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, interesting. It's like, then because of where it is in the movie, it's like, it asks all these questions. But that's it. Like, it's a small little hint. And so I was like, well, is Universal ever going to do anything? Because this movie is not going to be able to build a universe because it just flat out flopped. It was in theaters in my area, literally for 1 weekend. I tried to go see it. I couldn't. I had to find other methods.
Wow.
And then, so I did a little bit of digging, and I guess around the time, let's see, back in April, the directors of Scream 6, that I guess this is not too long after that movie came out, they were asked about their next project, and they said that they're going to be doing a Universal monster movie. Now, which monster? They have not disclosed. No one knows what monster it's going to be yet. I feel like everybody wants to tackle Dracula first, but with 2 Dracula movies bombing this year, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say if that project's still going to be kicking after what happened this year. But they said that what they're wanting to do is they want their project to be completely standalone. But they said that the studio's approach to this is weird, original way into a classic universe. So one director says it's standalone, and then the other says it's a weird, original way into a classic universe. What that tells me is, yes, it is standalone, because it's the first movie in the universe.
Yeah, potentially.
But yeah, it's going to go into other things, which, again, I'm all for shared universes if you can do it right. I just have found very few people that can.
Yeah.
What do you think, Eric? Are you wanting another Universal monster universe?
Well, I mean, there's been hints of that for a while, and nothing has ever happened.
Well, no, they keep doing it, but their movies that start the universe keep bombing.
Fail. Yeah. I wonder if there's something to that, though. Right? I don't know. I am curious to watch Voyage for sure, and I'm wondering if it might get a second life on streaming at some point. If it's a good enough movie, we'll see.
I hope so. It deserves it. Honestly, it deserves a second look, and it deserves time and attention. It's an expensive movie. You'll see why. That set is impressive.
Nice. All right. Cool. All right. The next thing, Alex, we're going to jump into, we've done a little monster movie news. Yeah. Now it's time to transition into some more pop culture news, maybe kind of indirectly related to some of the things we talk about on this show. We have talked about this on MvM Plus before, but we are both pretty big Mike Flanagan fans. Yes. Wouldn't you say, Alex?
Oh, yeah. I can't wait.
And so October 12th, we have got the release of The Fall of the House of Usher, the latest series from The Haunting on Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor. And what are the other ones, Alex?
It's the Dracula one or the vampire one. What's it called? What's it called?
Midnight Mass.
He also did the one that neither one of us finished. Even though we're big fans. I just wasn't in the mood for another horror show at the time. I think that's the only reason I didn't get past the first episode. I enjoyed it, but
Midnight something. Midnight Club.
Yeah.
Midnight Club. I am excited for this one, though. I think it will be kind of a return to that sort of house, a Haunting of Hill House or Haunting of Bly Manor feel. So the fall of the House of Usher. Yeah. It obviously Edgar Allan Poe inspired. How inspired, we don't know yet, but I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, reviews for it have already come out, even though it's still, I think, a few weeks away, right?
Yeah, October 12th.
Yeah. I know I was on IGN not too long ago, and they gave it a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
And so I'm excited to see how he adapts a Edgar Allan Poe story. I'm sure it'll be very good. I have full faith in the man. Yeah, I'm just excited. I hope that it hits the levels of Hill House and Midnight Mass.
Yeah, I agree.
That would be
Hill House is still my favorite
definitely.
of
it's
those.
not even close, and that's
Followed
saying
by,
something because Midnight Mass is phenomenal.
Yeah, Midnight Mass is great, but Haunting of Hill House is just on another level. It's really good.
Just every technical level of that movie is perfect.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And so, man, if this one can get even in that sweet spot between those two, it'll be great. And after this has kind of been like a staple, honestly, for like the last, 4 years, he's released a Halloween show on Netflix. And this is the last one for Netflix for now, because he is switching over to Amazon.
Wow,
Alex.
They pulled out their wallet on that one, huh?
They did. And according to everything I read, what he is starting for Amazon is a Dark Tower series.
No,
Alex.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes,
dude. Mike Flanagan doing the Dark Tower is the only thing I want. That's the most.
This is what I hear.
That's the most hyped I am for anything. That's that's like a dream. That's like a dream come true type of thing. Having someone like him manage a show, a book like that,
and a series as well.
It has to be,
right? Yeah, I think it has to be too.
It has to be. It has to be a long series. I mean, he's not getting away with even 3 seasons.
How many books is it?
Well, so the original run was 7, and then they added an 8th book that took place in between 2, many years later. You don't need that one, obviously. Honestly, you could probably cut you could really trim down a lot of content in there. It's weird. Dark Tower's a hard. Oh man, that's a hard book to tackle. I'm okay with Flanagan making his own creative liberties with it, because the Dark Tower series is like a nexus for all of Stephen King's works up until that point. Characters from all the books are coming into it. Now you don't have to know their history. I didn't when I was reading them, but you see all these big characters from Salem's Lot, from The Stand, and they're big major characters in the book. And it seems like they come there after they die. And so it's really an interesting series with a lot of characters, a lot of references, but most importantly, it's really the main characters of the series are not from other books. So
right, so it's like how much he leans into that,
right? And you really don't have to lean into them. I mean, you can do vague references to like the preacher from Salem's Lot. He can be in there, and you can just have vague recollections of things that have happened.
I mean, it's like Easter eggs, basically.
Yeah. And then they carry on. Like you can give them vague backgrounds, and then they carry on with the story. Yeah. There's a lot of ways to make it work, and I have faith that if anyone can do it, Mike Flanagan.
Yeah, me too. As someone not too familiar with the books, I have heard good things, and have faith in him as a director. So I think he can pull something big and epic off like that.
It can't be any worse than the movie.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
What a disappointment. Oh, man. I still die inside thinking about that.
Yeah.
I took Cece to that movie hoping that it would be good.
That was the last, poor Idris Elba. That was his last big movie that he's had since then.
No, not really. I think he did Hobbs and Shaw. He was a bad guy in that. He's done a few.
What's that?
That's a Fast and the Furious spinoff with The Rock and Jason Statham.
As I said.
Lord have.
I was trying to say his last serious role.
Serious.
Something else?
That movie, I don't know. I can't take any of it seriously.
Man. One last thing, Alex, in pop culture news. I'm excited for December 8th. We have got Miyazaki's The Boy and the Heron, which is a different English title than the Japanese title, How Do You Live? Miyazaki, apparently, he said it's his last film for the last 3 films. But, I mean, he is getting up there. At some point, he won't make another film. This one might indeed be his last.
Did you hear what he said after he said that?
Well, he said he's just keeping on working, right? He said he's not saying it's his last, right? He's just gonna. For everything I hear, he's just gonna keep on working until he's done.
Me and
is that what you heard?
Just keep working until you die and there's that half-finished movie that no one will ever see, but they all want to, and then you release it in about 100 years into a museum.
Yep, exactly. The Boy and the Heron in Japan only released with a poster.
That's
all there was a poster, and there was no trailer, and the poster gave away 0, nothing. The only thing that it was a vague reference to, How Do You Live, is actually a popular book that Japanese kids read in school.
You've mentioned this once before, I think, or someone.
And I read this book. Yeah, I read it. How Do You Live? I read this book. It's pretty good. I liked it. I could see it being a good book to read in school. Lots of interesting themes and conversations. So it's cool. But apparently it is not the book. That's just kind of an inspiration for the film. And so I am very curious as to what the film will be like. It has received good reviews. I have not. There's a trailer, a U.S. trailer out. I'm not watching it. Right?
I haven't seen it either. I saw there was
because
one.
I'm just saying, no, I'm not. I'm not going to watch it. I'm going to do kind of what the Japanese audience did and just go into this thing blind and check it out and hopefully have a good time watching it. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing. I saw that a full trailer came out, and I was like, I don't really care to watch this. I'm just going to go see it in theaters.
Yep, exactly. Well, cool, man. That moves us into the final segment of our MvM conversation, which is 30-second reviews, which we have done before. But I am going to let you go for Transformers War. What is this?
War for Cybertron trilogy. I've been clicking away at this.
The War for Cybertron trilogy?
It's 3 miniseries that were created over the course of, I think it was 1 year, maybe a year and a half, for Netflix. And each series is about 8 episodes. And
you've watched them all.
I've watched them all. I've slowly gone over them over 3 or 4 years. It's taken me really long to get through it. I can't say.
So Transformers War is what? It's one part of this trilogy?
No, so the trilogy is. Oh, what's the first part? I think the first part is War for Cybertron. And then one part is Siege. War for Cyber. Hang on. Let's see. Transformers, Netflix, trilogy. I just watched it. Can you tell? Yeah. All right. Yeah, the War for Cybertron trilogy. The first section is let's see. You've got Earthrise is, golly, this is so convoluted. Okay. First part is Siege, so War for Cybertron Siege, then Earthrise, and then Kingdom. And what they do is, it's kind of cool. I don't want to spoil too much of it for Transformers nerds. Honestly, I didn't have a full grasp of the story, and I wasn't a big I really like Transformers, but I wasn't aware that this was... I mean, I knew it was a retelling of the War of Cybertron, right? The fall of Cybertron. This is the big event that leads to the Transformers leaving the planet, coming to Earth, and then all that stuff. But this is... It's kind of a retelling of it in a lot of ways. But then there's some small differences that become bigger differences as you go through it. But it ends up incorporating a lot of like Transformers lore that I'm not too familiar with. Like the old Transformers series Beast Wars. Remember that? Did you watch that show? You had to have.
I saw a couple episodes.
Yeah. So all of those characters are in this as well. And so you've got this cross of G1 Transformers and Beast Wars Transformers and all this stuff going on in between that I've had no knowledge of. It can be a kind of a dark series. It sometimes it overstays its welcome in certain sections and certain like
So we started your 30-second review now.
Yeah,
right?
it just started just now.
30 seconds. Now. All right, just started. All right, that was the context. Yeah. Now the review. 30 seconds. 25.
Yeah, so it sometimes overstays its welcome, but I really like some of the ideas in it. I don't know. Optimus Prime seems a little weak. I like it overall. I would say it's probably a Gamera tier, but I would really only recommend it to Transformers fans, and even then, I don't know if they're going to like it or not. That'll be it.
That is a ringing endorsement.
Yeah, I just don't know. I watched a lot of this, and I'm just like... I like this. It's got some pretty dark elements to it, surprisingly dark elements to it. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, am I going to be able to... who am I going to suggest this to? And the answer is I don't know anybody that likes this type of thing in my life. So, maybe someone online.
Nice. My 30-second review, Alex, is not a film. It is phone games. I'm going to do some 30-second review on some phone games.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Okay.
Ready? All right. So, phone games. So, Wordle-like games, you might say. The first one that I want to recommend, or that I want to review, is a game called Dungeon that I've been playing for a long time. I've recently taken a break from all these games, but Dungeon is like a dungeon crawler Wordle game. And really it's all about figuring out the patterns and recognizing patterns and what comes first day to day. It's fun.
Okay.
Gamera tier.
Okay.
There's 30 seconds for Dungeon. Gamera tier.
Okay.
All right. Next review is Connections. This is a New York Times game, which Wordle now is a New York Times game. But Connections is a game where it's kind of like, have you ever played I can't think of the name of the game. Codenames. Have you ever played Codenames?
I've never played it. I know what it is.
So Connections is basically like Codenames, but you're trying to find the connections between four like things. It's a really fun game. I give that a Godzilla tier. Really good. And then the last one, Alex, is a game that some students recommended to me. So maybe that's why I don't like it very much. It's called Contexto. And in Contexto, what you do is you type in any word, and an AI computer tells you how close or how far away you are from that word. So you might type in the word window, and the AI machine says 1026. And that means it's 1026 words away from the word that the AI machine has chosen. And you are trying to use context to find the word. And it is infuriating. at times. So that is my Gamera tier. So I had Godzilla, Connections, Gamera, Dungeon Leon, and Gabra Contexto. There's your Wordle-like phone game recommendations for the week.
Very
Alex.
interesting, Eric. I'll give I completed a game. It's an old one though, so I'll probably leave it alone.
Well, that is it for this episode of MvM Conversations. Next week, Alex, we have got our review of, well, maybe next week or in 2 weeks, deciding on however you release these episodes.
I'll do next week.
We have our review of Gamera Rebirth. So I am excited for that.
Oh, wait.
As always, though, go ahead.
I just remembered a movie that you won't listen to. Well, it's on MvM Plus, another MvM Plus, but I'll give you a 30-second review of it if you would like.
Yes, do it.
Elemental
30 seconds.
On Disney Plus. Pixar movie. Skipped it. Seemed so boring. I even bad-mouthed it on an episode of, I think it was Monsters Inc. Our Monsters Inc. episode because I thought the idea was silly. But after watching the episode, it did not deserve the hate and the box office bombing that it had. Very fun movie, wonderfully animated. Surprisingly more age focus. It's a higher age focus than I would expect from a Pixar movie. But very good.
You mean an older audience?
I couldn't think of the words. Stumbling over here. But yeah, focus.
I've heard good things, actually. I've recently heard good things. So I don't know. That could be worth checking out. Thanks for the final 30-second review there.
Of course.
As always, thank you for listening to Monsters vs. Men. You can find the archive of past episodes and connect with us at our website, mvmpod.com, or follow us and message us on Twitter and Instagram at mvm_pod. You can become a bargain basement at patreon.com/mvmpod and receive regular bonus content, including early releases, watch-alongs, producer chats, and our undying appreciation. Monsters vs. Men is produced by Alex Cornett. Executive producers are Kevin Alexander, Faye Basier, Christopher Clavero, John Freeman, and Michael Herndon. Special thanks to our wives, Kama Rock Band for PlayStation 3, which forms Cell Block B, Louis Loops, Senior Honda, Drew the Collector, our Instagram connector, and you, the listener, for listening. Until next time, don't
forget what target audience is. and try to stay alive.
Mafia, wake up, wake up.
You have created a monster and it will destroy you.